Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
You're listening to Modified Roll, part of the Potteration Network. Like I say, if he puts up a fight and we have no other options, then don't allow me to stop you.
Oh, I wouldn't. I was just merely being polite before I put a knife through his head.
Do they serve strong drinks?
The strongest, my friend. We'll have a good time. Come on, let's go in. I'll lead.
Not too good of a time.
Ah, Sinclair. Back so soon, I see, and with new friends to boot. Come. Any friend of yours is a friend of mine.
Demi, my darling. Yes, I left the children at home today. I thought I'd bring my friends with me instead.
Oh, aren't you a tall drink of something, dear? At this point, it reaches over and runs a finger down your chest, Rain. Such muscular arms.
Well, it takes one to know one, darling. Rain, it's a genuine pleasure. I didn't think such wonderful attire existed outside of my circus. Well, our circus.
The boat's tied up just down from the docks. We should head off now if we want to be back at the appointed time.
Yes, absolutely. But does everybody have their things? Everything they came in here with?
From an outward perspective, they are just along for the ride, occasionally looking off into the distance. And for thinking of a better way to say it, they don't really care about any of you either. And in your head, no one else will hear this, just asking questions is wielding a double-edged sword. For in seeking answers, you may uncover truths that haunt as much as they enlighten.
In your head, to no one else's, you know, darling, I do enjoy a good riddle and a little bit of wordplay, but I worry for you and your kin, and come hells or high waters, we should look into sorting you out. Don't you think?
Someone's in my head. Someone's in my head. Stop talking. Someone's in my head.
He sort of, puts he thinks towards that, puts his head in his hand. What is that? It's... How far are we off, Horwick?
Through himself, he's going to point a finger towards the kobold with the shield, and casting message and whispering to himself as he does this, he just, in sort of no way particular, just, I'm in your head and I can hear you now. We're all here and we're all listening. So what's going on? But trying to keep it hidden, so he's pointing, so he's not making this an obvious message. So this is through himself to the water, but casting it to the kobold behind him. Let's try and freak him out and see what happens.
No, absolutely. So honest in character question. Would this have been something you would have done before, or would you have not risked it before, but now you're only trying it because you know what's about to happen?
It's something it's a thought he's had in his head before, and at most maybe some of the lower tier ones that have just been meandering around doing not a lot. Once or twice perhaps, but this is very much with intent. So I'm going to say this. Yeah, I guess this will be the first time he's had the intrusive thoughts but never gone for them. It's time to let the intrusive thoughts out, so he's giving it a go.
Cool. So I will say, as Tego knows, he is one of the more recent sort of indoctrinations, as it were. These guys with the shields, you know that all of the guys, anyone you see carrying a shield has this same condition, and you also know that they are some of the ones who've had it the longest. But as we have already seen from Tego, kobolds are skittish, flighty creatures. You do this, and you immediately see it goes from that sort of like crouched position to stood straight up like a rod, looking around, like eyes wide in like a little bit of a panic. Like he isn't gonna like run off screaming, but you can see it has definitely panicked him, and you know he's not gonna move, but you can see he's definitely panicking a little bit.
Yeah, sort of turning towards this and looking at everyone else with a very wry smile as he looks at the kobold still up. He's like, "What are you doing? Oh, for God's sake!"
See, he slams the shield down. Finish tying up the boat. You have work to do.
Clearly. And sort of turning to the rest of the party on the boat, he will look to Laura with a massive grin as he starts to like help pull people off, and just very quietly to all of them he's like, "They're very easily messed with, you know, this could work in our favour." And starts helping pull people off the boat.
Cool. So, what is, like, obviously, I don't know what you guys are planning to do, but just so I know who is going to be off the boat at this point, what is sort of the marching order getting off the boat? Horwick, again, being the one at the helm, will be the last one off.
I think Laura probably follows next after Rain.
Cool.
After Rain's finished tying up the boat.
Tego, would you go before or after Sinclair? You go next.
I think after Sinclair, we're just kind of absent-mindedly following Laura.
Cool. Oh, after... Okay, well, Sinclair going after Tego then?
Yeah, he's following their lead, so yeah.
Cool.
Could I just ask a question out of, character?
Yep.
So, obviously you said starting equipment, so I assume we don't have armour on.
No, because...
Or have we been provided
Because
armour?
you guys were sent out to commit a crime, knowing that you were going up against the sort of adversaries of this group that you're working for, you were kitted out in case you were attacked. Like, you guys,
Fantastic
you
news.
guys are valuable assets. They wanted you to have a fighting chance and to come back, having successfully burned down the competition. Also,
I just wanted to check that my AC was higher than 10.
Yeah, also, I had to narratively give you guys a reason to not die immediately, so that was it.
Oh, you do care.
Only so much.
Only slightly.
So, as Sinclair, you step off the boat, it sort of rocks in the water as your weight steps away. That kobold with the shield, who has been very skittish up to this point and is now watching all of you disembark, jumps down in front of you, Sinclair, steps forward and places the spear against your stomach because of how tall you are, and sort of looks up at you and goes, "You are not from group that left." And that's sort of where he leaves it.
Very quickly, before sort of anything too much goes on, Rain sort of pops his head sort of into it and says, "We've found a new member for the cause, so we brought him back to get fitted out. I thought we could use someone stronger, and here we are. Is it a problem?"
Cool. So, one, because you've already put him on edge, and two, because as far as the kobolds are aware, yes, this is a business arrangement. You can roll deception at advantage. And I'm not setting the DC particularly high.
Deception?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, that is a 22.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he sort of looks to the other, again, normally being one of the ones who wears the boot, he is shaken, he is confused. Sinclair is much, much bigger than him. He looks to the other kobolds who are carrying crates and boxes, and one of them stops, shrugs, and just continues carrying boxes. They could not give less of a shit. So he sort of squints his eyes up at you and says, "Boss should know. Make sure he get told." And then he climbs back up onto his little perch and settles down again.
Well, let's go find Boss, shall we?
So, you guys know that if you move further in, there is a sort of interim location where goods coming in are being organized and then moved into a storage room, and where goods coming out get brought out to be sort of, in the loosest sense of the term, inventoried before they get loaded onto a boat. That interim room is just another open room down a hall. As a hall, again, it's a hand-carved hole in the wall, and it's just a bunch of crates and maybe more kobolds moving around. You know there is a locked door in there guarded by another one of the shield-bearing kobolds that you guys are not allowed into. And then there is another one which goes into the storage room, which only certain kobolds are supposed to go in, and only when they are collecting or delivering items. Anyone else found loitering in there gets a boot up their ass.
Okay.
But you also know further through that room is like the rec room where the kobolds and the other captives sleep.
Have we seen any, like, the things going into the storeroom, have we seen anything particularly dangerous looking, like powder barrels maybe, or oil, grease, those kind of things? Like, what kind of stuff are we storing in this place?
So you know enough, like, you guys aren't, no offense, Tego, but you guys aren't like the kobolds. You're not just like doing whatever you're told. You guys would be like, I recognize that. So there are like this is like black market trade. So there are like expensive pieces of artwork, there are jewels, there are things like expensive animal fur, like rugs and stuff. There are also like sealed crates which do not get opened. Specifically, there are several crates which you are told do not open, not because you'll be punished, but because you will die. It's never explicitly told. You're never explicitly told what is in them, but you could take a stab in the dark and say it is some form of explosives or poisons in the smaller ones. But this definitely isn't just valuables; it is also weapons of different forms.
Let's do more crime. Is Horwick following us? Out of curiosity.
Yes, sorry, I just haven't moved the tokens till I know which direction you guys are going, but always assume that Horwick is just behind you, unless you guys ask him to move up front.
Laura kind of speaks up to the kobold who's just kind of dismissed us and goes, where do we find the boss? Where is he?
The kobold shrugs. Boss find you. Make sure he know. You would know that...
Helpful as always.
Yeah, you guys would know that the slaves, once you guys have been fitted with your collar, you see nothing except the sort of sleeping quarters and then the sort of storage working areas. Only the enforcers are allowed to go into like the further recesses. You do know there are 2 entrances that can get you in. One is a locked door in the sleeping quarters, and one is the locked door next to the storeroom. You know that both of those will take you further in.
I imagine we would start walking our way towards the sleeping quarters, I guess. I don't... Sort of as we're walking through looking, and Rain sort of looks through to the storeroom, knowing the kobolds are probably not listening and at best aren't even present in the moment, sort of turns to everyone as he walks and just... Give me some time and I can get into those doors, and then we can really start causing some trouble. I have the tools for the job. Nowhere's off limits to us. So we need to start thinking of how we're going to do this.
So as you start to move your way in, I will say that just because you guys should have a little bit of luck here, you notice that the door to the storeroom has been opened, and you can see like a kobold is like picking stuff up to bring out of the storeroom. So the door into there is currently open.
And there's quite a lot, yeah.
I should also say that this to your left, Rain, as you step through, is the kobold protecting the other locked door in this area.
Mm-hmm.
So directly to your left. And it's a little further in, down on the same wall to the left, is the door into the storeroom.
And there's a lot of kobold around, isn't there?
Yeah, in the room you're in currently, there are about 5 kobolds, including the guard one. You see 2 that, unlike the regular kobolds, are kitted out with a couple of extra little things, like they're carrying like a quarterstaff. They've got a crate. One has a crate on his back with a skunk in it. The other's carrying like a big clay jar on a sling. They seem to have a little bit more about them than the other kobolds, but they're still sort of working, moving around. But you see these ones are actually like taking notes and doing what equates to an inventory. There are also, you see, one human sort of wandering around and an elf, both looking very bedraggled. And anytime they come near the kobolds with taking the notes, they will like just kick them in the shins, like to try and get them to hurry up.
Okay. Turning to Sinclair and sort of trying to gather us all into like a tight-ish group as we walk, looking towards the storeroom, kind of keeping to the area for the moment. He's going to look to Sinclair and sort of Laura and everyone. Well, if we're going to do this, we need to make sure that we have as much help as possible, which means, and Laura and I can attest to this, the non-kobold faction of this group don't want to be here. so they should be quite easy to rally. But Tego, do you know of any way to sort of rumble your afflicted kin, perhaps? Any way to sort of get them moving at once?
Tego will just say out loud in that moment, like before there's anything else moves forward, is just, look at them laughing at you. They despise you. I'm talking to myself.
Tego, to answer your question, depending on how you would want to do it, you know, to start a fight among kobolds is one of the easiest things in the world. You have, if you would want to go along with this, if you're just wanting to make a distraction or cause a ruckus, the quickest way is to just reach out and punch one of them, and a brawl will ultimately erupt. If you want to be a little bit more surreptitious about it, you could start to sort of seed rumors that maybe, the deal that had been made with the clan leader has gone south, and that you guys are being tricked. So there are ways you could do it. A very simple distraction is just cause a fight, but then there are other more sort of we could seed a rumor, they might get upset, some of them might try to leave, and that might cause its own distraction.
In Rain's head again, then you'll just hear, should Tego fight?
Sort of not willing to get into Tego's head again, because he knows it sort of sets off the kobold meerkat sense to stand on end and look for wherever the voice came from. Rain will sort of huddle to the wall ever so slightly, look to Tego and just give him a slight wink. Just, I think I may have an idea. Just give me a second. And sort of under the cover of his own thing, using the Mage Hand Legiman ability to make my Mage Hand invisible, I'm going to summon my Mage Hand.
Yep.
And looking for any decent-sized rock around, pick it up, and just throw it at the one guarding the locked door.
Mm-hmm.
And as it strikes him, and potentially he look around, Rain is just going to look to one of the other kobolds, just be like, and basically act as if that one has now thrown a rock at this one, and is basically just trying to start an infight between these kobolds.
Cool. I will say you don't have to roll to hit with the rock. It wouldn't do damage anyway, so it is just going to tunk off of his sort of... I'll say it. I should tell you what, give me a ranged attack roll to see if it just bounces off the shield or if you actually manage to clock him on the head.
Ranged attack roll. Weirdly, as a rogue, I'm quite good at those.
Nat 20.
That's a nat 20 for a 27.
Oh, nice.
Right. So here's the thing. Had it been a regular kobold, I actually would have made you roll some damage dice because there was a chance you could have just cold clocked him. The kobold with the shield has significantly more health. So with a natural 20, he is in the middle of scanning the room, and he just, as his gaze is not quite on all of you, because obviously you don't want it to look like it came from you, but as he's just tracking around the room, he just all of a sudden, his vision just fills, and you clock him directly between the eyes. And he immediately falls back, shield clatters to the ground. Everyone stops and looks, and he clears, rubs at his snout, who's doing that? Who's doing that? And he looks up to you, essentially comically looking at the kobold, pointing, being like, why did you do that? So give me a...
Yeah, pretty much
Yeah, give me a deception check at advantage.
I think during this exchange, Laura's keeping track of the human and the elf who are in the area, just to see what they're doing, if they're continuing, or if they've stopped to kind of view the spectacle.
So with this happening, they have definitely stopped. They look at this kobold getting hit, and then they look down the hallway to all of you, recognize obviously all of you, but then above all of your heads, they see Sinclair, and both of them look stop dead and look confused. Because generally, the kobolds might have been tricked by this. Generally, slaves don't bring in new slaves. The enforcers do. So they're looking at all of you, and we'll get back to that in a second after we find out what that deception roll was.
So that deception is a 17.
Yeah, this kobold immediately thinks that the other kobold has thrown a rock at him. He doesn't bother picking up the shield and spear. He just rushes towards this other kobold. You realize, comparing them side by side, the ones who are carrying the shield are not much super tall. They're maybe only like a few inches taller, but they are a little bit taller. They are a little bit beefier and broader. And he grabs this kobold by the throat, picks him up off the ground, and just like slaps him so hard in the face and like knocks him to the ground. And all of a sudden, all the other kobolds start like shouting and get him! And he just like he's not like trying to kill him. This is obviously like a discipline thing, and he's just like slapping the shit out of him. So that starts to happen. The other kobolds are now like sort of bunching up, sort of shouting and screaming around this and like all watching to see what happens. The ones behind you guys are like craning around the edge of this hallway to see what's happening. And Laura, you spot this human and this elf, I believe I said it was, sort of moving, edging away from this, but like not taking their eyes off of all of you and Sinclair.
I think Laura is going to clock eyes with, whoever's kind of looking in her direction first, and kind of gives a little nod and a wink as a kind of, stuff's about to happen, prepare yourself.
You see them very like syrup. Actually, tell you what, I'm going to make them roll an insight check, and you give me a, say, persuasion to see how well you can get this across. Well, persuasion or performance, whatever you prefer.
Okay. +4. No, +3. It's a 13.
13. Okay, yeah. So both of their insights were okay. That's okay. You see one of them is just like looking back and forth, but the other one like grabs him by the arm, pulls him in and whispers, looks back to you and nods. And you see them like set down the things they were carrying. They don't really have anywhere to go, but you see them like move back towards the door into the storeroom, and they're quite surreptitiously like, obviously keeping an eye on what's happening in there. You can hear like sounds coming from in there now that this fight is broken out, so you guys have like, a couple of seconds to do whatever your next action is while this commotion is happening.
So just the lay of the land then. So we got locked door over here.
Just directly to your left,
over this way. And then this corridor where this purple kobold is stood here.
Yeah.
Is that a dead end, or was that the way out?
You know the one where he is, so he's like just to your right and up a little bit. You know that round there is essentially just another part of this storage room. It's just sort of curves around to the side and then stops.
Cool. Looking to everyone behind him now that the kobolds seem to be getting into a bit of a scrap. Wondering if you should just make it worse and start whispering into more heads. He's going to look to everyone and goes, "Okay, pick a door. We've got a prize. Do we need to go for the storeroom, or do you want me to try and unlock the locked one?"
I mean, well, the locked door is clear. Try that quick now.
Okay.
Guidance.
Amazing.
Hey, look at that.
So you move up. I assume, just a suggestion, that the rest of you are going to try and interpose yourselves between Rian and the crowd.
Yeah, the big old wall will block him.
So, seeing as I still have my mage hand up, I'm going to bring it past myself, get it to take my thieves' tools.
Yep.
And have my mage hand try to unlock the door so it does not look like I'm actually doing anything at all.
Yeah, so you guys will like push yourself into the corner, but you look like you're watching the action, and your thieves' tools are behind you, sort of fiddling at the door. Mm-hmm. Cool. Give me a thieves' tool check.
So I've got
Dexterity plus proficiency.
Dexterity plus proficiency. I have expertise for that. I've never used a rogue before. What do you get for expertise?
That's doubled proficiency.
Duffled? Why can't I speak? Doubled proficiency. So dex plus double proficiency. Okay, that's good. That's a 19.
Beautiful. You hear behind you the telltale.
Guidance.
Guidance.
Hold on.
As well.
That's 19.
It's unlocked.
Okay.
Just in case.
You rolled a 19 on a room full, like a box that is meant to keep out kobolds and slaves. It is fine.
Okay.
You hear a click, and the door behind you, while it doesn't just swing open, you know for a fact that it is now unlocked.
With a quick point to everyone in the area as the commotion goes on, you just hear Rain's voice in your heads with a very quick, "It's open." And putting his hand to the door handle and just sort of sliding himself front-facing through. Rain is going to go through first, just to the other side.
Cool.
Can I ask, as you say, in people's heads, do you include Tego in that?
Yes, not thinking about, just impressed with everything that's going on so far. He genuinely forgets that this could be a problem for Tego, so he does just say, it's open.
He starts to scream, in my head again, in my head again, out.
Tego,
Cool.
it's okay.
I'm going to roll perception at disadvantage to see if any of the other kobolds care. Oh, actually.
Oh no, someone cares.
Okay, no, it's a -2. It was only a 10. No, they are very much focused on the fight. Luckily, they did not roll particularly well. In fact, so much so that as you guys have opened the door, the others, from now that the hallway is clear, are trying to rush their way in. You actually see initially the guard one with the shield from the other room is trying to pull the others back in until he sees what is happening, and he's also like, oh no, I want to watch as well. So, are you guys going to try and stealthily slip through this door, or are you just going to bum rush it and then close the door behind you?
Rain will try as stealthy as possible, make his way through the door to make sure there is at least no danger on the other side before beckoning everyone else inside. Okay,
well, I say for Rain, because you have like 3 bodies blocking you, you can just open the door and step through. You don't have to make a roll for now. And as you slip in, you see a small-ish room. There are several weapons racks in here. You can tell like various like states of repair and use. Some of these are possibly owned by whoever these enforcers are. In fact, maybe 1 or 2 you've even seen wielded by some of the enforcers. Maybe some of like the blunt hammers and maces have been used against you and the other slaves before. But you also recognize that many of the captured weapons are in here, so the slaves who have been brought in, any weapons they were been carrying would have been stored in here until they're, resupplied on specific missions like the one you were on.
Cool.
But there's nobody else in here, but you do see, directly ahead of you to the left again is another door.
So seeing there's no one inside, Rain's head will poke out to Laura and just silently finger back into the door and start making his way in to take stock, essentially, and wait for everyone else to join him.
I think Laura is kind of watching what, Tego, Horwick and Sinclair are doing, and is kind of gonna grab hold of Sinclair and Horwick's just a bit of their clothing and just pull a little bit and gesture to make sure Tego's coming along too, before trying to, as stealthily as possible with a scale mail, tuck through the door.
Yeah, Horwick, getting the idea, sort of grabs onto Tego's shoulder gently, not like roughly, but puts a hand on your shoulder and sort of gestures for you to come as well.
Sinclair will sort of walk backwards, tiptoeing, go, yes, kill him, good show.
You see the human on the other side of the room by the store sort of gives you a weird look.
And he gives them a thumbs up. Doesn't...
Weird look. Can I get everyone to give me a stealth check, please? We'll be doing a group stealth check. I will allow Rain at this point, if you would like to contribute to the group stealth check, to also roll. I will be taking an average.
Yes.
Is there any chance I could use Sinclair as cover to help me not have disadvantage on this?
I am factoring in the my difficulty is set based on the situation you guys have created for yourselves.
Rain will sort of, in his most helpful way, try and usher people in and keep too much jangling to a minimum, so if scale mail starts to rush, it'll pat down quickly and sort of try and...
In that case, say, I know that some people have already rolled. Would you like to roll your own stealth check, or would you like to give advantage to somebody, give the help action to somebody else?
I will give the help action to Laura then, knowing that they are not as light-fingered or footed as he is, so he will give Laura the help action to help her stealth in without as much sound, essentially.
Okay, so I just rolled with disadvantage.
Yeah.
So...
Did you roll 2 separate dice at the same time? Okay,
yeah.
Then just roll a new one and we'll take the new one.
God, watch this be lower, because that was actually pretty good.
I mean, if your lowest one...
It's much lower.
I was about to say, if your lowest one was still pretty good, we could just fucking go.
It was.
Then I am nothing if not a benevolent DM. I will allow you to use that one instead.
You're so kind.
I mean, it was the help action. It's supposed to make things better. I'm not going to make it worse.
It was like either a 14 or a 3.
Okay. Oh, we'll go with the 14 then. Cool. Sinclair.
2. Being the ever stealthy boy he ever is.
Yep. And Tego.
Dirty 20.
Damn. And I need to roll for Horwick, which I completely forgot to do. Who, damn, I actually gave some pretty good decks to. 13. Lovely. Right, so, yeah. The DC was only a 10, and since you rolled a 20, a 14, a 13, and a 2, I'm not doing the math because I'm pretty sure that beats it. So, as you guys, Tego being the last one sort of guided through, you watch as this just beatdown is still going on. Like, you know, hierarchy-wise within the Kobold Society, he's going to be beaten black and blue, and then he's going to be put in his bed and left there for a few days. But as you bring yourself in, you shut the door behind you all, I assume.
Yeah.
Yes.
As everyone gets in, Rain, I would like to relock the door.
I will allow that to happen without a roll.
Yes, so he will just throw it back to lock, so it appears as nothing has changed.
Tego is just going to place a hand on his own chest and say Shadow's Embrace and cast Mage Armor.
Lovely. So what does your Mage Armor look like as it takes effect?
I would say that the black across the scales gets deeper.
Ooh.
And the purple disappears.
You guys almost watch, almost like shadows lengthening in the sunset as it drifts across his body as this Mage Armor takes effect. So you guys find yourself in what is quite obviously the armory of this hideout with another door just ahead of you. You guys find yourselves in the armory. You can see this selection of weapons on various racks and sort of leaning up against the wall or set in piles in the corner. And you see there is another door sort of ahead of you turning to the left.
Right, what do we want to do? Are we just going to go in? Rain, can you open that? Just be careful.
Rain, he's not going to open the door, but just very lightly try and move the handle to see if it just turns on the door, so just gauge if it's locked or if it's an open door.
It is not locked.
Okay. Letting it go to sort of, again, very gently, so there's no sound or sound of springs suddenly clicking back into place, sort of. Right, the door is open, so that's a plus, and we seem to be in. I assume this. I've never seen this room before, but it's one of the few armories by the looks of it. Maybe we should just take some shit. And Rain is generally going to look around to see if there's any interesting looking weapons, daggers, anything that he can throw and or wield.
I would say at the level of people they are capturing, there's not going to be anything magical in here, and if there was, the enforcers are probably holding on to it. But I will say, if you guys wanted to, there is anything you would find in the standard player's handbook list of weapons if you wanted to grab something. In fact, you see Horwick chucks the club down and picks up a axe that he now is carrying.
Suits you better, Horwick.
He hefts this heavy double-bladed axe in his hands. I can't say it's something I want to get used to, but anything with a little bit more of a bite to it might help us get out of here.
Rain will just pick up his whatever daggers are lying around before moving to the door that's open, and while everyone else sort themselves out, listening out for sounds on the other side, like voices, steps, anything like that, just sort of gauge if there's anyone, to a keyhole or just to the wood, whatever's there.
Yeah, give me a perception check. Would anyone else want to pick anything up? I will say as well, I don't really track thrown stuff, but we'll say you've got 4 or 5 daggers on top of whatever you already had.
Mm-hmm. Perception is 16.
You hear an ever so slight jingling of chains. It is very muffled, it's not from the directly on the other side of this door, but further away.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Turning to the rest of the group as he sort of takes his ear from the door and staying sort of in a crouched position next to it. I can't hear anything too problematic on the other side, so I don't think there's any guards or anything, but I can hear a very muffled amount of chain. But if you want me to start scouting ahead, I can.
Just 2 seconds. I might have an idea. I would like to cast Locate Object on the device that kind of controls the collars, assuming it's going to be on, Gilly's person.
Unfortunately, as I described earlier, anytime you saw this device activated, he always reached into his jerkin and activated from in there.
So I've never actually
You've never actually seen it.
Okay.
You think specifically because he was being careful, so that 1, nobody knows what to look for, and 2, anyone magical wouldn't know what it looks like.
Okay, so I can alternatively use the spell to locate the nearest... No, I don't even know. I have no idea what it is.
Something on him, though. I've used that spell before. It can be anything that's an item.
I've got that spell, and I have seen similar crystals. Would you let Sinclair cast that, Jordan?
I would say in this case, because you already know the collars they're wearing are different enough, not just in their appearance, but even in their function, that if you were to do this, you're first of all going to be making a fairly high Arcana check to see if you can you're essentially pushing the limits of this spell. So it is very much what you can recall, how that relates to what you're looking for, and you're pushing the limits of the spell itself. So it'd be a pretty high Arcana check before you even cast the spell.
What is my Arcana like?
Damn it.
Not very good. No, it's probably...
Mine's not good.
No, not worth it.
I will say, the rooms you guys have seen so far, plus the storage room and the sleeping room, those are like the rooms you were allowed in. Whenever you were first brought here, you know there is a room that you normally would have accessed through the sleeping quarters, because like I said, there's another locked door in the sleeping quarters. You know that if you're taken, when you first arrived here, you were taken through there, and somewhere further in, you don't know you could maybe guess, if you were to sketch out the map yourself, that it's probably somewhere on the other side of this door, but you know there's somewhere a little bit further in where you guys were taken to have the collars fitted. So there's another area further in with chains and manacles where you would have been tied up to have these applied, and obviously what you just heard was some chains jingling.
Okay. I don't think my plan is going to work. Do we want to go in? I mean, at this point we're not allowed further through, so I think if we're going to make noise, now is the time to start.
Let's be careful about this as well. Remember, there is a lot of kobolds as well. Rain, do it stealthy. See what's on the other side of there first. It's not a bad idea.
All right, I'll be quick. I'll be quiet. I know I can do that, and I will. Laura, listen out for my message, and wanted to say for you to come, keep as wary a distance as possible, but not too far. I am not strong.
I'll be close by. If holler, and I will. I'll come running.
I'm going to hold you to that. And he's going to, with that, again, sort of opening the door very gently and sliding around it as if to sort of almost try and pass through the crack between the door. He's just going to slip himself out and close it very quietly. And basically, I'm stealthing, keeping...
Cool. I will not make you roll. I'll not make you roll stealth, because as you slip open the door, you can see that there's no one on the other side. I'm going to assume that you are dexterous enough that you can move quietly enough. As you step through, you can see to your right, there's another door, sort of turning right and then right again as a door. You recognize that as the one that goes to the sleeping quarters. There is a hallway that turns to the left, which you've never been down before, but you passed when you were first brought through. And then as you step through the door, to your left is another door, which is the one you would have been taken through to have the collars applied, and where you suspect the jingling chain noise was coming from. So on the map, chains this way, sleeping quarters this way, hallway you've never been before.
Okay. Looking around, Rain is going to point a finger in the general direction of Laura and just send a message. It's all clear, you can join me.
We have okay to go in.
As we start to move, Tego will telepathically, in Rain's mind just say, because the connection will still be up at this point, hidden things lurk in the shadows, cloaked in mystery and whispers, waiting to be unveiled.
Do you know what? I might write that on my intro speech. That was very good. You're good at putting words together, aren't you, Tego? We'll do well at the circus.
Get out of my head.
Oh, I've heard that before.
By far, one of my favourite character affectations I've ever seen. Someone who speaks telepathically and then gets frazzled when you do it back.
Sinclair will approach Rain. So where are we? What are we working with now?
So, door to my right is the sleeping quarters. Door over here is the muffled chain sound I heard. The one up there is the sleeping quarters, and I've never been down there, wherever that hallway leads. Oh, honestly, mystery is usually the way forward.
Yes, I agree, unfortunately, into the unknown.
We had a singer who used to sing something like that once. She was quite nice, very blonde, though.
I hate you.
What's worse is, as soon as you said into the unknown, I heard into the unknown.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
So, just not to influence what direction you go, but just a reminder, like, you know, the other room with the muffled chains is where you guys were taken up when you were first brought here, and you can hear chains moving. Not I'm trying to tell you have to go that way. Just telling you, it sounds like somebody's currently chained up in there.
Yeah. Waiting for everyone to enter the room, Rain will then basically point out what is what and say there's chain sound in there and just sort of give the information to everyone.
Laura's kind of just lingering back for a second and just looking and making sure that everyone's gone through, kind of almost like tracking to make sure all the kids are lined up before they go for the field trip.
Patting on the head, counting them as they go past.
Yeah, just like, okay. And kind of just sinks out behind them all and just closes the door back behind.
Excellent. So you've all been made aware. You've got sleeping quarters, chain room. You know in the chain room there are other doors that you would not have been through, but you would have seen when you were brought in that in that room is a door that Guilfoyle would have come in through to apply the magic to the collars.
Rain, darling, I can't help but think, if there is another poor individual being tied up and shackled, should we not go intervene?
Yeah.
We have the numbers now.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't think there's a safe word, so probably best to...
Say, also, yes, the bleeding heart Rain, the one you should be appealing to his better nature, not the paladin.
Cleric and the paladin looking to the rogue for good thought.
Surely, my criminal friend, you would want to rescue these people.
I'll rob them first and let them go. It's called a payment. Moving to the door to the chain sound again with the ginger turn. Rain is just going to make sure that it's either locked or unlocked.
This one is also unlocked.
Okay. Looking back to all of them and placing a finger to his lips, just as just sort of everyone keeps stum. He's just going to open the door a fraction and peek through just to see what he can see as he just sort of looks through ever so slightly.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks very much for sticking with us. As always, thank you to Lixie B for our wonderful logo, Jeff for all the amazing artwork he creates that you can find on our online store, wonderful sponsors DN Dice and Arcanist Rum, links for both can be found in the description, Michael Gelfie and Monument Studios for allowing us to use their tracks in our scoring, and of course all of our wonderful Patreon supporters who have allowed us to continue creating additional content for the podcast. Your support means the world to us, and we can only hope that with your help we'll continue to make great content. So you might have noticed that we're trying something a bit new with the intros and outros. First of all, that's because we are now part of a network, which is super exciting for us. For now, that won't mean a ton of changes to the show, but with the way this network works, we'll hopefully be getting a few more ad spots thrown into the episodes, so you might have a few more ads to sit through, But with that, we're hoping to be able to get enough funds together that we can start putting out additional show content, because what I really want to do is bring on an editor, someone who can come in, do all the editing, take that off my hands, and allow us to put out more shows, maybe even do some streams and stuff for you guys. So we hope you'll support us through that, and I hope that you'll continue to listen. But yeah, let us know what you think about the new intro and outro. We'll be changing things up a little bit. We might tweak it a little bit as time goes on here, but for now, I want to try something different. But obviously with that, we are now part of the Podderation Network. We are so pleased that we were invited to join these guys, and I cannot recommend the shows in this network enough. You can check out the full list on podderation.com and find all the other amazing shows like Dice Will Roll, Tartan Tabletop, The Next Session, Rolling Dice and Taking Names, and Dungeons and Dragon Fruits. So thank you guys for having us, and hopefully this will mean some improvements for the podcast as we go on. We've also got a promo for the Thorn Files podcast, so stick around for after the credits for that. But that's everything for this episode. Thanks for sticking with us. You've been listening to Modified Roll, part of the Podderation Network.
Hello, this is Annabelle Thorne, current head of Thorne Investigations, a paranormal investigations company set up in Edinburgh. I'm here to tell you today that monsters are real, and have been real for centuries, only they've been hiding. We don't understand why they're coming into the light now, but if you see anything, if you hear anything that makes you think you're in contact with one, tell us. We can help. I have a few agents in the field just now, Evangeline Lane Fox, Peter Anderson, Vera Bright, and for better or worse, my niece, Tabitha. Don't hesitate to tell us. If you do, you might not get another chance.
The Thorn Files podcast is a Monster of the Week actual play podcast with new episodes coming out every other Friday. If you're a fan of horror, mysteries, and shenanigans, why don't you come and give us a listen at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and pretty much everywhere else you can get podcasts. Be ready to be scared.
This show is part of Podderation, the nerdy podcast network. From D&D and video games through to ancient history and books of all genres, we are a group of podcasts all about things you can nerd the heck out about. We are currently looking for new podcasts to join the network, so if you know someone who wants to take their nerdy podcast to the next level, send them to podderation.com to get in touch.